Let me tell you a story about jealousy. And when I say jealousy, I don't mean the ordinary kind where someone sees what another person has and wishes they had it too. I mean the kind of jealousy that slowly enters someone's heart until they begin to hate a person who has never done anything wrong to them. This is the story of Madame Sandra. And believe me, what happened in this house is something nobody expected. There was a young couple who had been married for about 1 year. The wife was 28 years old. A beautiful and very hardworking woman. She was the kind of woman who took her marriage seriously. Her husband was also a hardworking man, and both of them had good jobs. They loved each other very much. The husband was especially affectionate toward his wife. He was always checking on her, buying her little things, calling her during the day, and making sure she was comfortable. They were not extremely rich, but they were doing well for themselves. The problem was that their jobs kept them extremely busy. By the time they returned home from work, both of them were usually exhausted. Sometimes there was no strength to cook. Sometimes the house would be untidy because neither of them had the energy to clean. So after discussing it, they decided to employ a house help. That was how Madame Sandra entered their lives. Sandra was about 45 years old. She was much older than the woman she was going to work for. And when she first came into the house, she was extremely humble. She worked very well. She cleaned the house, washed clothes, cooked, and made sure everything was in order. The young madam was also very kind to her. In fact, the woman treated Sandra better than many people would treat someone working for them. She never insulted her. She never deliberately embarrassed her. And whenever Sandra had problems concerning her children, the madam tried to help. There were even times when the madam paid her children's school fees. Sandra had a son who was about 18 years old. She had raised him alone. She was never married to his father, and although life had not been easy for her, she had managed to raise her son. The young madam knew Sandra's struggles, and that was one reason she always tried to help her. At first, everything was fine, but something slowly began to change. Sandra started noticing something. She noticed how much the husband loved his wife. She noticed how he looked at her. She noticed how he would come home and immediately ask, "Where is my wife?" She noticed the little gifts, the phone calls, the hugs, the attention, and slowly, something ugly began growing inside Sandra. Envy. She began asking herself questions. How can this young girl have all this? She's only 28. I'm 45. Why am I the one working for her? Why does she have everything? The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. And the worst part was that the madam wasn't even wicked to her. She was kind to her. She was helping her. She was paying school fees. But sometimes when envy enters someone's heart, even kindness can become irritating. Sandra began behaving differently. She became rude to the madam. If the madam asked her to do something, she would sometimes answer disrespectfully. But whenever the husband was around, Sandra would suddenly become extremely respectful. "Good evening, sir." "Welcome, sir." "Let me get you some water, sir." She treated him differently, and the madam noticed it. But because she didn't want trouble in her home, she ignored it. Sandra also began talking about her madam outside the house. She would tell people that the woman was proud. She would tell them that the woman was wicked. She would complain about how she was being treated. But the funny thing was that anyone who knew the family closely knew that the madam was actually very good to her. Sandra's hatred continued growing. Then she made a terrible decision. She wanted the woman's husband not just to admire him, not just because she liked him. She wanted him to stop loving his wife and start loving her. And that was when things became dangerous. Sandra went to a spiritualist. According to the story she was told, she obtained something she believed would make the husband lose interest in his wife and become attracted to her. She took it home. She waited for the right opportunity. But there was one thing Sandra didn't know. The woman she was plotting against was extremely prayerful. Every morning, the young wife prayed over her home. She prayed for her husband. She prayed for her marriage. She prayed for protection. She had no idea that someone inside her own house was secretly wishing for her downfall. Then came that fateful day. The madam prepared food for her husband. She had spent time in the kitchen preparing the meal, and because the kitchen was hot, she was sweating. After cooking, she decided to go and freshen up. Before leaving, she looked at Sandra and said, "Sandra, please help me take this food to my husband when he comes." Sandra nodded. "Yes, ma." The moment the madam disappeared into the room, Sandra looked around. She was alone. She quickly brought out the substance she had obtained. She added it to the food. She believed that finally her plan was going to work. But something happened that Sandra could never have imagined. There was suddenly a knock at the door. It was the dry cleaner returning with some clothes. Sandra quickly left the kitchen to collect them, and while she was gone, her 18-year-old son entered the compound through the back. Now, this boy had a bad habit. He liked taking things that didn't belong to him. Not necessarily big things, small things, food, money, whatever he could secretly take. When he entered the kitchen, he saw the food, and what attracted his attention immediately were the big pieces of meat inside the plate. He looked around. Nobody was there. So he took a plastic plate and transferred all the food into it. Everything. He dished another portion from the pot and left it there, completely unaware of what his mother had done. He carried it away, went toward the gate area, hid himself, and ate the entire meal. Then he returned to the kitchen. Sandra came back. She looked at the food. She was confused. She wondered why it seemed different. But before she could investigate, the madam came out. "Has my husband's food gone?" Sandra quickly answered, "Yes, ma." Just then, the husband returned home. The madam brought out the food. Everything seemed normal, until suddenly, Sandra's son walked into the compound. He looked around, then he saw his mother, and he said something that made everybody freeze. "Where is my love?" Sandra looked at him. "What did you say?" The boy walked closer. "Where is my love?" He was looking directly at his mother. Everyone became confused. The madam looked at the husband. The husband looked at Sandra. Nobody understood what was happening. Sandra quickly grabbed her son. "What is wrong with you?" But the boy kept calling her his love. And then Sandra remembered the food. Her face changed. She immediately asked him, "Did you eat anything from the kitchen?" The boy answered casually, "Yes." Sandra's heart dropped. "What did you eat?" He replied, "I ate everything you prepared." The room became silent. Sandra couldn't speak. She knew exactly what she had put inside that food. She had intended it for the woman's husband, but her own son had eaten it, and now he was looking at his own mother with strange affection. Sandra began screaming. She started crying. The madam was completely shocked. The husband couldn't understand what was happening, and eventually, under pressure and fear, Sandra confessed everything. She confessed that she had been jealous of the madam. She confessed that she hated seeing the husband love his wife. She confessed that she had gone to a spiritualist. And she confessed that she had put something into the food meant for the husband. Everybody was stunned. The young madam couldn't believe her ears. This was the same woman she had helped. The same woman whose children's school fees she had paid. The same woman she had trusted inside her home. And yet, Sandra had been secretly plotting against her marriage. Sandra was immediately sent away from the house. But the story didn't end there. Sandra became desperate. She began taking her son from one spiritualist to another, looking for a way to reverse what had happened. But instead of getting better, according to the story, things became worse. Her son deteriorated. The boy who had once been full of life became completely useless. Sandra watched helplessly as everything fell apart. She cried. She regretted what she had done. She blamed herself. She wished she had never allowed envy to enter her heart. But by then, the damage had already been done. She had looked at another woman's marriage and decided she wanted it. She had looked at another woman's happiness and decided she deserved it. She had been treated with kindness but responded with hatred. And in the end, the very trap she prepared for someone else became a source of destruction in her own family. And that is why I always say, be careful what you allow into your heart. There is nothing wrong with seeing someone doing well and wishing that one day you will have your own. But there is a very dangerous difference between admiration and envy. You can say, I pray I have a marriage like that one day. Or you can say, why should she have it when I don't? The first one is a prayer. The second one can become poison. Sandra's biggest mistake was not that she wanted a better life. Her mistake was that she wanted another woman's life. She didn't know the battles that woman had fought to get where she was. She didn't know what was happening behind closed doors. She only saw the love, the comfort, the attention, and the things she wished she had. And because she allowed jealousy to consume her, she ended up destroying herself. So the moral of this story is simple. Do not let envy turn you into an enemy of someone who has never harmed you. What belongs to another person may look beautiful from the outside, but you don't know the price they paid for it. And most importantly, remember this. The evil we plan against others can sometimes find its way back to us in ways we never expected. Instead of destroying someone else's happiness, work toward building your own. Instead of asking, why does she have this? Ask yourself, how can I improve my own life? Because jealousy can make you lose sight of your own blessings. And sometimes, by the time you realize what you've done, it may already be too late. I hope this story has taught you something, because sometimes the lessons we learn from other people's mistakes can save us from making the same mistakes ourselves. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here, we tell stories that entertain you, but more importantly, every story comes with a real life lesson. Lessons about love, marriage, family, jealousy, betrayal, greed, forgiveness, and the choices we make in life. So, if you enjoy stories that make you think, teach you something, and keep you wondering what will happen next, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our next story. And please, share this story with someone. You never know who may need to hear this lesson today. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, never allow jealousy to make you destroy what you could have built with patience. Until next time, stay safe, stay blessed, and always choose kindness over envy.